season 2 ending for Game of Thrones. We were sitting there watching it, just eyes totally glued to the TV, and Sam is hiding terrified behind that rock as the dead, the White Walkers, are coming through. This is kind of our maybe second introduction to the White Walkers, the zombies of the snow or whatever. The horse comes walking up, which it pans from the paws. Horses have paws, the legs, the hooves, and it kind of slowly pans up, and you see that it's just all just decayed and fallen apart. And then you have the White Walker on top. Absolutely terrifying. And you got the dead people walking through the snow. That I'll believe, right? But then my issue is with Melisandre and the smoke baby coming out and killing. That's my issue. That's the part that's not believable for me. The dead White Walkers I'm fine with, but the Melisandre storyline, I'm like, nah, not believable. But I think for me, this is the first red flag in the series to where I'm like, So my wife and I have found ourselves getting back into rewatching Game of Thrones from the beginning. Last time we did this, I think it was actually when it was live on HBO for the final season, whenever the show wrapped up. But what got us into rewatching this again is that I'm in the middle of ripping the entire series to my Jellyfin server, and I was kind of curious if I would watch the series in the same way that I did the first time around. Now, the first time around, I did enjoy it, wasn't crazy about the ending like a lot of other people, but my thing was, first time through any of these kind of series to where there's a bunch of names you got to know, and you got to know a lot of the background and storyline. This is one to where we would watch new rock stars on YouTube to kind of explain things for us that we missed. So I wanted to go back and rewatch the series. Now, I am really excited to do this. We're having a good time. And for me, the first season and 3.5 episodes, this show is absolutely brilliant. It is so good. Storylines are really, just fantastic. And the characters, there's not one weak character among the cast. There's characters we hate, right? There's characters that we don't like, but they're so brilliant. And so watching the series over again, I was wondering at what point through the 8 seasons, I believe, am I going to start being like, what's going on? Now, that first season, my wife and I were like, we would watch an episode at night, and then we'd look at each other and be like, okay, double feature, you want to watch another one? So that first season was so good going into the second season. And then I think it was the third or fourth episode on here where Melisandre kind of gets introduced, and then it's this mythical, and look, I know on these sci-fi type series, you have this suspension of disbelief that you have to inherently have when you watch shows like this. But I think there are certain parameters that you have to have, at least for me, to where there has to be a level of realism for me to totally kind of buy into some stuff. Now, I'm already, we're talking dragons, we're talking, walking into fire. There's a lot of things to where you're just like, okay, obviously not real world, but definitely when Melisandre was introduced and the smoke baby part of the storyline, my wife and I, we both felt the same thing. It's like, as soon as it was over on that episode, we were like, do you like that? And she's the one that said, she almost thinks that when she saw this the first time that it jumped the shark. At first, it is kind of interesting, kind of, what's going on? This is kind of creepy. And then I'm like, I could feel myself inside feel like, not necessarily jumping the shark, but I'm like, is this where we're going to go? The smoke baby ends up killing Renly Baratheon. Remember, they're in their tent, and then out of nowhere he comes up and stabs him in the back. And for me, what was a really good storyline turned out to get wrapped up kind of in a matter of 30 seconds. The birth of Smoke Guy, and then the next thing on the next episode, Renly is just killed in his own tent. So now Stannis has really nobody in between him and the throne, or at least that can lay claim to it through like the whole birthright relation with Robert. It just seemed like a cheap way out. If you have read the book, let me know if this went by really quick in the book as well. I'm just kind of curious why it was almost like they were running out of time to do something and they wanted to get past this part of the storyline. Now, it's not to say that the series after this goes downhill. There's a lot of ups and downs for Game of Thrones. But I think for me, this is the first red flag in the series to where I'm like, this isn't a perfect series. So I'm kind of curious if you guys had that situation with Game of Thrones also. What did you think of Melisandre and the Smoke Baby? Is this true to the book and the creators just followed that roadmap? Let me know. But definitely this is the first part of the series where I was like, dislike.